What is going on, everybody? My name is Will, and you're watching the monthly for September 2018. And oh man, let's get started. September was a big month for sports. On September 8th, this non-cheater's coach kind of cheated and she lost. And on September 23rd, this cheater didn't cheat and he won. September 5th, an anonymous op-ed published in the New York Times caused a stir in the White House when its author claimed to be part of a secret resistance, sabotaging the Trump administration from within. So all we know about the author is that they work in the White House and they're fucking things up for Trump. Wait a minute. What if it's the person we least expect? No, wait, I forgot. They have to know how to write an op-ed. Or at all. September 11th. While anticipating the destruction of Hurricane Florence, President Trump referred to Florence as, quote,
tremendously big and tremendously wet.
Hey, at least somebody's big around here, said Trump's hands. Yeah, and at least somebody's. September 2nd. Following Nike's new campaign featuring Colin Kaepernick, conservatives across the country burned their Nike shoes in protest. And seeing their opportunity to attract the open customer base, Crocs launched an interesting new campaign of their own. Also September 11th, an excerpt from Bob Woodward's new book claimed that Trump's lawyers insisted Trump not testify on the Russia investigation, telling him, quote, it's either that or an orange jumpsuit. Man, I have to say, I didn't know I could ever feel bad for Trump, but an orange jumpsuit? Don't do it to the guy. Moving on to September's story of the month, this time dealing with Duchess Meghan Markle and her breaking of royal protocol by closing her own car door. And fuck that, guys, you know I have been dying to talk about Supreme Court nominee Brett Kavanaugh and the sexual assault allegations against him. And holy shit, there is a lot of detail to this story, so please bear with me while I set my talking speed to opposite of moms on phones and quickly fly through some dates. July 9th, President Trump announces his nomination of Brett Kavanaugh to the open seat in the Supreme Court. Many speculate that Trump chose Kavanaugh due to Kavanaugh's public belief that a sitting president should never be indicted. In other words, if Kavanaugh is in, Trump is harder to get out. September 4th to September 7th, Kavanaugh's initial confirmation hearings before the Senate Judiciary Committee take place. While Democrats ask for his opinion on subjects such as a woman's rights to choose, he's against them, Republicans asked for his opinions on subjects like thick Sharpies. He's for them. So, he's a moderate. September 14th, anonymous allegations surface in a story by The New Yorker claiming Kavanaugh attempted to rape a woman in 1982 while they were in high school. Kavanaugh denies, and the White House says it's not going to take any action. September 16th, psychology professor Christine Blasey Ford allows her name to be released publicly for the first time as the author of the allegations. A day later, Kavanaugh's confirmation vote is postponed. September 23rd, Dr. Ford agrees to testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee as a second sexual assault allegation surfaces from Kavanaugh's Yale classmate Deborah Ramirez, claiming Kavanaugh thrust his penis into her face while she was drunk at a dorm party. Kavanaugh denies. September 26th, a third woman, Julie Swetnick, comes forward with allegations that she witnessed Brett Kavanaugh making efforts to get girls intoxicated on multiple occasions in high school, at parties where boys would allegedly line up outside of a bedroom to take turns assaulting the disoriented girl inside. Kavanaugh admits to that one. Just kidding. He denies it and says the claim is from the Twilight Zone. Which, look around, Brett. A reality show host is president, the Cleveland Browns won a football game, and for some reason poop is cute now. If there's a Twilight Zone, you're already living in it, pal. September 27th, Brett Kavanaugh and Dr. Ford, the original woman to come forward, testify before the Senate Judiciary Committee. Now, a lot of Dr. Ford's story revolved around Brett Kavanaugh being visibly drunk during the time of the attack. And while Kavanaugh denied the event as a whole, he did admit to drinking once or twice at that age. In fact, he admitted to drinking once or twice more than once or twice.
I drank beer with my friends. Almost everyone did. Sometimes I had too many beers. Sometimes others did. I liked beer. I still like beer.
After their opening statements, Dr. Ford and Kavanaugh were subjected to a line of questioning from the committee. And regardless of whose opening statements you believed more, one thing was absolutely certain. Who was more willing to answer the questions? Just take a look at this figure from Vox. The blue represents every time either Ford or Kavanaugh answered a question or admitted they didn't know the answer, while pink represents every time Ford or Kavanaugh refused or failed to answer a question. You'll notice that Dr. Ford never failed to answer a question, while Kavanaugh frequently dodged. Even in the questions that Kavanaugh did answer, it was clear that he had a lack of understanding of basic sexual assault statistics. For example, Kavanaugh suggested that he wasn't the kind of student to commit sexual assault because he was a student athlete. And Kavanaugh continually repeated that he had many trusted female friends, so how could he attempt to commit rape? And this has nothing to do with anything, but here's another equally true statistic that's just a little bit on the lighter side. Another defense that we heard repeatedly from Kavanaugh originated from his Fox News interview on September 24th, when he stated that he had been a virgin during the timeline of all of these allegations. Which is like, yeah, we know. We've seen your haircut, dude. But also, no one's accusing you of sex. That's what makes assault assault. No one wanted to have sex with you. Being accused of sexual assault and saying you're a virgin is like if a detective came to your door and said, hey, we're investigating a non-deadly stabbing from the 80s. And you were like, well, I hadn't murdered anyone yet in the 80s. And they were like, yeah, it was a non-deadly stabbing. The victims are saying it was you, and your friends are saying that you were really into knives at the time. And then you were like, I use knives with my friends. Almost everyone did. Sometimes I used too many knives. Sometimes others did. I liked knives. I still like knives. All of that being said, I'd be lying if I said that Kavanaugh's testimony wasn't also captivating at times. Both Dr. Ford and Kavanaugh shed tears during their opening statements, and it was a popular opinion among analysts and committee members that both Dr. Ford and Kavanaugh's testimonies seemed credible. But how is that possible? Either Kavanaugh attempted to rape Dr. Ford in 1982, or he didn't. Many on the Republican side are suggesting that Dr. Ford was assaulted, but she's misremembering who her assaulter was, and that is bullshit, for a lot of reasons. First and foremost is Dr. Ford's understanding of the human brain. Just listen to her explain how the brain captures memories.
How are you so sure that it was he?
The same way that I'm sure that I'm talking to you right now. It's just basic memory functions, and also just the level of norepinephrine and epinephrine in the brain that sort of, as you know, encodes, that neurotransmitter encodes memories into the hippocampus, and so the trauma-related experience then is kind of locked there, whereas other details kind of drift.
She's literally a psychology professor, and what everyone needs to remember is that she completely uprooted her life so that she could make these allegations. Do people seriously think that she would expose herself and her family to public scrutiny and death threats if at any time during her studies on the human brain she discovered evidence of the slightest possibility that she may be remembering things wrong? This woman knows how memories work, and how sure is she that Kavanaugh was her attacker?
100%.
Another reason why it's a bullshit conclusion is that Dr. Ford is assumed to be the one who forgets the name and face of her attacker, while Kavanaugh was allegedly drunk during the alleged attack and has admitted to a history of heavy drinking years afterward. And I know what the response is to that. Even if Kavanaugh was drunk, he can still have a clear memory of what happened. Cool. But then why is it that Republicans, including the president himself, completely brushed off Deborah Ramirez's allegation because she was drunk when she said that Kavanaugh thrust his dick into her face at that dorm party at Yale? Sure, Kavanaugh was drunk, but he still clearly remembers what happened. Ramirez was drunk! How is it that she can so clearly remember what happened? I guess men must be the only ones who can remember things while intoxicated. Sorry guys, but you can't have it both ways. If you haven't watched the testimonies from this past week, I strongly suggest you do. There are so many interesting elements that I don't have time to talk about, including Dr. Ford passing a lie detector test, an alleged witness to the attack named Mark Judge, a guy named Tobin, a guy named PJ, calendars, a guy named Squee, some drinking game called the Devil's Triangle. And please look up the clip of this Chuck E. Cheese robot malfunctioning after some kid poured a medium Sprite down his circuit board.
This is not a job interview.
Yeah.
This is hell.
As important as those moments were, I think the most telling moment during Thursday's events was during Senator Durbin's questions for Brett Kavanaugh. Senator Durbin offers the idea of a one-week FBI investigation that would either support Dr. Ford's claims or support the clearing of Kavanaugh's name. Tell me if you think this is the response of an innocent person.
So the point I'm getting to is we at least can connect some dots here and get some information. Why would you resist that kind of investigation? Why would you resist that kind of investigation?
Sir, I wanted the hearing last week.
I'm asking about the FBI investigation.
The committee figures out how to ask the questions. I'll do whatever. I've been on the phone multiple times with committee counsel. I'll talk to...
Judge Kavanaugh, will you support an FBI investigation right now?
I will do whatever the committee wants to...
Personally, do you think that's the best thing for us to do? You want to answer?
It's clear that Republicans want another Republican on the Supreme Court before the midterm elections. And it's also clear that Democrats are trying to block that from happening. That's politics. A one-week FBI investigation, however, would not get in the way of Republicans' agenda. So why wouldn't Kavanaugh want this, unless there was something he didn't want people knowing about his past? Hey, did you just break into the penguin exhibit and kick that penguin? What? No. All of my friends are penguins. My mother is a penguin. This is a farce perpetrated by the Democratic Party as punishment for the 2016 election. Dope. Then do you mind if we look at the security tapes? I mean, I'd rather you didn't. I'll do whatever the committee wants. September 28th, the day after Dr. Ford's testimony, every Republican on the Senate Judiciary Committee is ready to vote, suggesting that Kavanaugh is about to be pushed through and likely confirmed on the Senate floor. And then, two women on an elevator confront Republican Senator Jeff Flake. They passionately express to him their disappointment and share their own stories with sexual assault. And however temporarily, they get through to him. The vote takes place, and while Flake votes to push Kavanaugh to the Senate floor, he promises to vote no on the floor unless a one-week FBI investigation is held, threatening that he has Republican colleagues on the floor who will also vote no on the same grounds. And suddenly, thanks to two seemingly average women, Flake forces the Republicans' hands. If they don't have the votes to confirm Kavanaugh, they likely wouldn't get another chance until after the midterms. And depending on the outcome of the midterms, a lot of Republicans may not be left to make it happen. The investigation has been ordered, and that's where we are now, on October 1st. This next week is not about winning. At least it shouldn't be. No, this next week is about the truth. I know what I believe happened, but the fact is, a lot of Republicans feel they need more evidence to believe it. Let's hope the FBI finds that evidence. And above all, let's hope that in the end, truth prevails. And let's hope that the Senate votes accordingly. And on November 6th, vote for who you believe will pursue the truth. That is it for September's episode of The Monthly. Thank you so much for watching, and be sure to look out for October's episode going up on November 1st. I have a game of Devil's Triangle to get to, so until then, have a great month.